friends, myself Ushmita. Hope you are doing well. So today we are going to start our science second chapter of class 9 science. Is matter around us pure? In the previous chapter, we read about what is matter. In this chapter, we are going to study about is matter around us pure. So have you ever noticed the word written pure on the packs that you buy from the market of milk, ghee, butter? So for a common person, pure means having no adulteration, no chemical, no other constituent. But for a scientist, they are actually a mixture of more than one pure kind of matter. They think that a mixture contains more than constituent particles. For example, for them, milk. It is a mixture of water, fat, protein, etc. Yes, they think that milk, it is a mixture. We think milk is a pure that we buy from the market as pure it is written on the pack of that consumable. But scientists think that it is also a mixture of different constituents. So pure means, but when a scientist say that a substance is a pure, then it means that that substance contains only one constituent particle. For them it is one constituent particles. They think that substance is pure. So pure means that consists of only one single kind of matter, that one single kind of constituent particle. In other words, pure means a single form of matter, no any other constituent is there. If it is of fat, then the whole matter is made up of fat only. Scientists think that that is a pure. For us, if it is written a pure on the pack, we think okay, it is a pure. But no, for scientists, pure word means different in the dictionary. So what, first of all, what is a mixture? As we look around us, we see soil, sea water, they are actually mixtures. What is a mixture? So mixtures, they are constituted by more than one kind of pure form of matter. Soil has a mixture of many things of rocks, air, so many things are there. Gas is also involved in the soil. So they can constituted by more than one kind of pure form of matter. For example, sodium chloride, NaCl, that is dissolved in water. We can separate it by the physical process, that is evaporation. That is also a pure form of matter. Next is similarly sugar. It is also a pure form because it's in individual crystals that remain fixed. They have the same characteristics properties. So pure substance, pure matter, they contain same characteristics properties throughout. So there are types of mixtures. Two types of mixtures are there. First is homogeneous, second is heterogeneous mixtures. Now let's perform one small activity. Now divide the class into four groups A, B, C, and D. Now give them some samples like few crystals of copper sulfate, or you can say yes, few crystals of copper sulfate to group A, one spatula of group copper sulfate to group B, and to group C and D you can give different amount of copper sulfate and potassium permanganate and ask them to dissolve them in the water and stir it with glassware. So record the observations. You will see in group A and B, the solution that you obtain, they have they have a same composition, uniform composition throughout. That is a homogeneous mixture. So you can say one more example, like salt in water, sugar in water. They are homogeneous mixture. They have a same composition. In heterogeneous, group C and D, the solution that they obtain, they are heterogeneous mixtures. They do not obtain they obtain a non-uniform composition. They didn't get a uniform composition, that is a heterogeneous mixture. For example, oil and water. You can see a boundary between them, between the oil and the water. They didn't get mixed. Why? Because due to the density, that is a heterogeneous mixture. Or you can take a green pulses and yellow pulses and mix them. You can separate them. Why? Because we can see them clearly. We can see a boundary between them. So that is a heterogeneous mixtures which we can see the two components clearly, two different components. That is a heterogeneous mixtures. So this was the homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures. They are very simple. What is homogeneous? What is heterogeneous? In which we obtain a same or uniform composition, that is a homogeneous, like salt in water, sugar in water. In which non-uniform composition we find, that is a heterogeneous mixture. For example, oil and water, the distinct boundary you can see. Green pulses and yellow pulses, when you mix them, that is also a heterogeneous mixtures. Now let's perform one more activity. Again, divide the class into four groups, that is A, B, C, and D. Now distribute the crystals of copper sulfate to group A, one spatula of copper sulfate to group B, chalk powder to group C, and few drops of milk or into group D. You can take few drops of milk only to group D. Now ask them to dissolve them in a water and stir with a glass rod. Now record the observations. You will find that group A and B, they got a solution. Okay, that copper sulfate, they get dissolved in a water, they got a solution. So you will say that, are the particles visible in any solution? In any of the experiment used? You will see the chalk powder in group C, the particles are visible. Now what you should do, direct a beam of light through a torch through the beaker from all the 4 experiments. You will see that a beam of light you will see in a group C as well group D from the beaker passing through them. That was of chalk powder and of milk. Then you should filter the solution. Again, you will see the residue that is left over on the filter paper. Again, it is in a chalk powder. Now leave the solution leave that all the 4 solution, all of beakers for a while undisturbed settle. Now we said few of the particles just settle them in one of the experiment that was in group C of chalk powder. So what was that? See, group A and B, that they got a solution. Group C, that was a suspension, and Group D got a colloidal solution. Now, what is suspension and colloidal? Firstly, we must know what is a solution. A solution is a homogeneous mixture of 2 or more substances. Remember, it is also a homogeneous mixture. For example, lemonade, soda water. There are examples of solution as well as homogeneous mixture. So, solutions, they are basically all solutions that we know they are homogeneous mixtures. So usually we think that solution, it is of a liquid that either contains solid, liquid or a gas. But in our world, in this, we also have a solid solution and gaseous solution. Solid solution like alloys, gaseous solution like air, in which gas is involved. Alloys. First of all, what is alloy? With you, ma'am, you told about a solid solution, that is alloy. But what is alloy? Alloy, it is a mixture. It is also a mixture of 2 or more metals or a metal and a non-metal, but they cannot be separated by the physical process. For example, brass, we know it is a mixture which contains a mixture of 2 metals, that is 30% zinc and 70% copper. That is alloys. They are the mixture of metals, 2 metals or a metal and a non-metal. That is alloy. So now comes that there are 2 components of a solution. First is solute, second is solvent. What is solute? The component that is present in a lesser quantity in a solution, that is a solute, and the component that is present in larger quantity, that is a solvent. For example, salt water, sugar water. Sugar water, taking example of sugar water. Suppose a sugar which is present in a lesser quantity is a solute, and the water which is present in a larger quantity, that is a solvent. You can remember that solute, small spellings, that means lesser quantity, and solvent is larger, means larger quantity. So what is larger quantity? Similar of salt solution. Salt, we are taking less quantity of salt, that is a solute, and a larger quantity is solvent. So the 2 components of solution, that is solute and solvent. Now depending upon the concentration, what is the concentration of the solution? It depends upon you at how much solute you are dissolving, how much amount of solute you are dissolving in a solution. So that is a concentration. First is dilute, concentrated, saturated solution and unsaturated solution. First is what is dilute? The means the solute which is present in a low quantity in a solution, that is a dilute. Remember, solute, solvent, they are different things. That are components of solution, and the concentration is a different term. That is dilute and concentrated. Dilute means solute that is present in a low quantity in a solution, that is a dilute. If the solute is present in a larger quantity in a solution, that is concentrated. We say that it's a concentrated solution. If the solute is present in a less quantity, we say that a solution is dilute. Now, what is saturated solution? If in which no more solute can be dissolved, that's a saturated solution. For example, if you are dissolving sugar in a water, you are dissolving and dissolving, a stage will come where you can't dissolve no more sugar. That's a saturated solution. If you are dissolving the sugar, that is unsaturated solution. But when a stage comes in which you can't dissolve more sugar, that is saturated solution. But you can add the sugar then also by increasing the temperature. If you increase the temperature, suppose a stage comes saturated solution. But if you increase the temperature, then also you can dissolve the sugar by increasing temperature. So there will be kinetic energy, man thing. Then you can add them solute also. So that was the basic. That was another concept that is known as supersaturated. That's a supersaturated by increasing the temperature. The stage where no more sugar can be dissolved, that is a saturated. in which you are dissolving and dissolving, that is unsaturated solution. So there were some concentrations. Now there are various ways to express a concentration. So let's see what are the various ways to express the concentrations. There are some formulas. They are very simple and basic. Three formulas are there. That's what let's see. First is mass by mass percentage. That is mass of solute upon mass of solution into 100. In which, see, mass of solute means you can say weight of solute. Over here we will keep the mass of solute upon mass of solution. That is solute plus solvent. Mass, or you can say weight. By adding the solute plus solvent, you will get the mass of solution into 100. Second is mass by volume percentage. See, mass of solute upon volume of solution into 100. Third one is volume by volume percentage. Here you will keep the volume of solute upon volume of solution into 100. It is very simple. Suppose how you are calculating the marks, that is you are keeping total how many marks you got in exam upon total marks into 100. It seems like this. We have to calculate these percentages of these solutions. First is mass by mass. If you are in the question, if you are got, they have given the mass of solute upon mass of solute plus solvent. So by adding a solute plus solvent, you will get the mass of solution, and here you have to keep the mass of solute into 100. Similarly, mass by volume. Suppose mass is given of solute and volume of solution is given, or sometimes it happens that mass is given of solute and volume of solute and solvent is also given. Then add the volume, you will get the volume of solution. The mass of solute it is given, then keep over here. Mass of solute upon volume of solution into 100. Similarly, third is volume by volume. If volume is given in place of mass, again you have to do same process. So these are three formulas. Now I'll give you the example of NCERT that is given in your book of mass by mass example. A solution contains 40 gram of common salt in 320 gram of water. Calculate the concentration in terms of mass by mass percentage of solution. Now see, first of all, what you have to do? See, in question C, find the solute. What is a solute? That common salt. We know common salt is always present in less quantity in water, means that is a solute. Then write mass of solute, means that is given 40 gram in 320 gram of water, means mass of water, or you can say weight of water is 320 gram. Now write mass of solvent, that is water, it is 320 gram. But we know in mass by mass percentage formula, they have given, see, in terms of mass by mass percentage, in question it will be mentioned whether you have to find mass by mass percentage, mass by volume, or volume by volume percentage. For this, you see, mass of solution, we have to find the mass of solution. Mass of solution is equals to mass of solute plus mass of solvent. Where it is written mass of solute is 40 gram, mass of solvent is 320 gram. Now add both, you will get it is 360 gram. Now mass of solution is 360 gram. We need mass of solute and mass of solution. We got 40 gram and 360 gram. Now mass percentage is mass of solute upon mass of solution into 100. Mass of solute is 40 gram. Over here also it is written, and mass of solution is 360 gram into 100. By solving, you will get that is 11.1 percentage. So by this you have to do, first of all, find out what is solute, then how much solvent it is given, then which percentage, which concentration term you have to find, mass by mass percentage, mass by volume, or volume by volume. So over here in the question it will be mentioned which you have to find. So no need to worry about that. Just see what is solute, what is solvent, and add both. If it is given mass of solution, then add the mass. If it is given volume, then add the volume of that solution and put in the formula. But this you have to do. Now come to the point that what is suspension. So this was our solution. Now come, that is what is suspension. In group C that we have performed our second activity, we read about what is come to the point, what is suspension. Suspension, it is a heterogeneous mixture in which fluid particles do not dissolve, but they remain suspended throughout the bulk of the medium. Yes, in suspension, like we have done in the activity, in second activity of chalk powder. It is a heterogeneous mixture. You can see the particles very carefully by your naked eyes. You can see. So it is a heterogeneous mixture in which fluid particles do not dissolve. Chalk powder, the particles of chalk powder, they are fluid. They do not dissolve, but they remain suspended. Yes, they remain suspended in the beaker, so that they remain suspended throughout the bulk of the medium. That is a suspension. That's why we said at group C, they got the suspension solution. So particles, they are visible to the naked eyes. Yes, we can see the chalk powder. We can see the particles of chalk with the naked eyes. So they scatter a beam of light and makes paths visible. When we direct a beam of light through the beaker through a torch, they scatter a beam of light and we can see the path. Means they make the path visible. Next point is fluid particles. They settle down when left undisturbed. That is, suspension is unstable. Yes. So when we leave a beaker for a while, after for a while, it remains undisturbed. So the fluid particles, they settle down when left undisturbed. That means that the suspension is unstable. When we left the beaker undisturbed, from there we come to know, because fluid particles is settled, from there we come to know that suspension is unstable, and they can be separated by filtration. We can separate the chalk powder with a filter paper, so they can be separated. Suspension solutions, they can be separated by filtration by the filter paper. Means the residue, that is chalk powder, they will remain on the filter paper, and the solution, the water you can get, they can be separated by filtration. And they do not show Tyndall effect. Now, what is Tyndall effect? For getting the knowledge of Tyndall effect, first of all, you must know what is colloidal solution. We will come to the colloidal solution. First of all, complete this suspension. So, this was some of the properties. So, remember one thing: if the fluid particles, the non-settle down, suspension will break. So suspension will break. They will not make the path visible. So these were some of the properties. It is a first of heterogeneous mixture. They are visible to undertake, scatter beam of light, make path visible. Fluid particles when settled down, when left undisturbed, that is, suspension is unstable, separated by filtration, do not show Tyndall effect. Colloidal solution. So due to the small size of particles as compared to suspension, the solution appears to be homogeneous. It appears, but actually it is a heterogeneous mixture. Colloidal solution is known as heterogeneous mixture. For example, milk. You can also give the example of heterogeneous mixture as a colloidal solution. For example, milk. So due to the small size of particles, they cannot be seen through our naked eyes. In milk, how we can see the particles? No, we can't see, because the particles are too small that we can't see through our naked eyes. So due to these particles, they scatter a beam of light known as Tyndall effect. So after scientists who discovered this effect, we kept the name of this effect as a Tyndall effect. Due to the particles that scatter beam of light, that scattering is known as Tyndall effect. Now, what is Tyndall effect? First of all, you can observe a Tyndall effect when a fine beam of light enters in a room through a hole. That is known as Tyndall effect. What is Tyndall effect? It happens due to scattering of light by the particles of dust and smoke in air through that hole which the light comes. So in that light, you can see the particles. They are roaming. They are roaming in the air. So that happens with scattering of light by the particles. And particles, they scatter. The particles of smoke in air, they scatter a beam of light. So that is known as Tyndall effect. Tyndall effect can also be observed in a canopy dense forest. There also you can see the Tyndall effect. Next, what are the properties that it is a heterogeneous mixture? They cannot see through naked eyes. They scatter a beam of light, also known as Tyndall effect. They do not settle down when left undisturbed. When we left the beaker undisturbed, they do not settle down. The particles of the colloidal solution, they do not settle down. That's why we say that colloidal is quite stable. It forms a stable solution. That's why it is known as. And they cannot be separated by filtration. Our solution, we can't separate by filtration. Remember this thing. So we can't separate by filtration, which is a physical process. For this, we use a chemical process, that is centrifugation. Centrifugation, remember this question can come in exam. We use a special technique or a chemical process known as centrifugation to separate the particles, to separate solute and solvent of this colloidal solution. So these were the properties, and our components are also there of colloidal solution. The components we read of a solution, the simple solution that we read, that was solute and solvent. And of colloidal solution, we are also having two components. It is same as it is a solution, only there's a difference of a naming. The solute-like component is known as dispersed phase, and the dispersed phase, which is expanded in a medium, or you can say the solvent, it is known as dispersing medium. See, what was the solute? It was present in less quantity, like that was the solute-like component, that is known as dispersed phase in colloidal solution. It's not different. There's a difference of only naming, right? So what was dispersing medium? It is a solvent which the solute is dispersed, is suspended in a solvent. Similarly, dispersed phase which is suspended in a medium, that medium is known as dispersing medium. So colloids, they can be classified according to the state also, solid, liquid, gas. So here you can see the table mentioned here. Dispersed phase, dispersing medium, what are the type and what are the examples. So you can see dispersed phase if it is a liquid, dispersing medium is in a gas. So what it will be the type and what is the example. So there are few examples that you have to learn. Sometimes this also comes in your exams, that what is a dispersed phase, this is a dispersing medium, what type it will form and what is examples. So this was the colloidal solutions. We read about the what is mixture, what was colloidal solutions, suspensions, solutions, homogeneous, heterogeneous mixtures. So this we read about the mixtures, but how we can separate the solute and solvent of the solutions of the colloidal suspension and solutions. So always we can do the physical process, that is filtration. Everywhere filtration process is not used. Suppose in a colloidal solution we can't separate the particles of a milk. Can we separate? No. You can try. You will not find any particle of milk. So some techniques are used. Some chemical process by chemicals, by beakers, by heating, by cooling, by applying pressure, temperature, we separate. So that chemical process, that chemical separations, that separations of mixtures, we will read about in the next part. So this was the solutions. This was our part. So next part we will revise about them mixtures, how we can separate them. Till then, stay tuned. Thank you.